As a longtime fan of wuxia or Chinese martial arts, Hero's Adventure Road to Passion did for me what 3D printing did for social activism, as this game has enabled me to live out the wuxia dream of adventuring into the wild unknown with a giant rooster while amassing fame and fortune by challenging senior citizens to martial duels. Of course, I did not just live the dream, I excelled at it, so much so that my efforts eventually landed me the opportunity to attend a rather exclusive gathering, which unexpectedly turned into a freak-off, which then turned into a blackmail situation where everyone's misdeeds had been neatly recorded on a piece of paper, which would be released to the public unless the attendees accepted the demands of the host. Needless to say, the types of scenarios and situations you can get yourself into is seemingly endless, and if you were to play this game without a prior knowledge of the genre or its cultural differences, let's just say you're in for a surprise, because this game gives you tutorials, but that's just for mechanics. Beyond that, it's all up to you to decide whether or not the person in front of you is a homeless person about to bite your face off or a hidden master who has had their meridians crippled. In the end, the choice is all yours. How about this? Let's give you another test. Someone in the woods needs your help. Do you stand by and watch, or do you provide help? If you decide to be a good Samaritan and help them out, congratulations, the person is so thankful for your help that they decided to give you the presidential treatment. Of course, not everything within the game is a trap meant to exploit you. For example, the homeless population. Within the game, I have found that a reliable source of income and positive karma is to exploit the relationship between the homeless and the government, because much like in real life, the government would rather pay me a hefty sum to deal with the homeless than use the same amount of money to help the homeless get off the streets. To get an idea, I use a portion of the money the government pays me to easily bribe the homeless to stop causing problems. I then use the remainder of the money to shower people with gifts so that I can invite them to my party. I then immediately send these people to my homestead and assign them to the back mountain, where they will be spending the rest of their lives collecting resources. If you're asking about fair wages, rest time, and all that, this is the martial world, functioning strictly on martial law. If you wanted mashallah, this is not the place or time, as evidenced by the court hierarchy in the game, which goes civilians, officials, the emperor, and finally the dude who just pummeled the Dalai Lama. In the game, once you have amassed enough fame and power, you can do practically anything you want, like eradicating an entire sect. But be aware, there are certain limitations. No, you cannot refine random civilians into pills or walk in any of the 4 cardinal directions. Instead, you must ethically source all your pills and move in a strict diagonal pattern. In exchange, you can play the game in glorious machine-translated English, further adding to the immersion that you're practically playing a cultivation novel. When you first start the game, you are given 2 gender options, either image 1 or image 2. Beyond that, you have a wide variety of options in terms of weapons. You can honestly go with any weapon so long as you have the stats to back it up, because 95% of the fights are just a matter of who has the higher stats, which if you're a fan of the genre, is honestly a lore accurate feature, not a deficit. Of course, if you're struggling in your playthrough, you can easily respec your character, and here's a literal encyclopedia to help you do so. In terms of items and traits, you can use and unlock more by getting achievements, so there's a lot of replayability and room for min-maxing. Items will of course give you an extra edge. As for traits, they can give you more stats or even offer you additional unique ways to play the game. For example, Lone Adventurer gives you a 100% experience boost if you play as a social recluse, whereas traits like Buddha Heart will only provide you benefits if you avoid women. As for story, the game takes place in a time of war and great uncertainty, with every power exploiting the chaos as an opportunity to gain more land resources and wealth. In all of this chaos, your character is birthed by a tree and immediately posed with an ethical dilemma. Which ABG does he want to save? For my first playthrough, I of course decided to help neither of them, and instead tied them both up and immediately fled. I then skinned some boars, discovered a village, and rejected an old master who tried to recruit me. If it's your first playthrough, do not do this. At least cozy up to one of them, as these people give very valuable cultivation materials and techniques, especially this old dude. In terms of the world and how you progress, there are a lot of factions, cities, and environments that you can explore, each with their own stories and unique rewards. The game doesn't hold your hand in how you progress, so you're free to do whatever in any order whenever you want. Quickly going over some of the places, you'll of course start at the Nameless Village and progress towards one of these 3 cities. If you decide to go down to Shushang City, you'll discover that this city apparently only has 1 cushion and a pretty sizable homeless population. But it's not all bad though, as they at least have cockfighting and plenty of alcohol. Additionally, the city is also very close to the Taoist sect, which you can join to learn alchemy and sword fighting techniques. Alternatively, you can also join the Ye family battalion, where you can learn spear fighting techniques. If you decide to go more north and head to Linan City, you'll find water which will make your constipation a thing of the past. Furthermore, if you ever find yourself bored, the city has plenty of entertainment in the form of a legal-illegal underground fight club, a maiden house, a casino, and finally a criminal on the loose. In one of my righteous playthroughs, while participating in the fight club, I actually ran into an arrogant young master who caused my senior brother and I to be disqualified. Of course, I was playing a righteous playthrough, so naturally my senior brother and I did the reasonable thing and trailed the young master so that we could take some weight off his shoulders. We then placed the displaced weight on the city gate as a warning to future evildoers. Returning to the topic at hand, if you're looking to improve your blacksmithing and sword fighting techniques, the Lengya Sword Pavilion is also right next to Linan City. Of course, last but not least, there's also Daliang City, where you can join a tournament to showcase your martial prowess and ultimately become a homeowner. The city also has an auction house where you can make immense wealth. Not to mention, there's a casino right next door, so you can maximize your profits. For those of you who started out with a brush, fan, or zither, the Confucius Temple is close to the city. There's also the Shifa Temple, where you can learn staff and fist fighting techniques. Of course, this is not all that the game has to offer. In fact, these are just the cities available to you right after the tutorial. There are many more sects, cities, and places that I have left for you to discover. As for companions, there's a lot to choose from, some with their own unique quests. You can of course also do what I did and have them just rot away in your hot spring, because way later into my playthrough, I discovered that the back mountain was actually where you place pets, and if you wanted to get the best use out of your companions, it's not to use them for free labor, but instead to use their synergies to get insane stat boosts. Now, at this point, hopefully I've gone over enough of the game to help you get an accurate understanding without spoiling too much. Hence, if Hero's Adventure sounds at all interesting to you, I highly recommend you check it out, because Hero's Adventure Road to Passion is a Cultivation Wetdream, and if you're looking for a game that scratches the cultivation itch, then this game will definitely not disappoint. Yes, it may be rough around the corners, but the effort, passion, and love put into creating this experience more than makes up for it, to where you can see the flaws, yet still have an enjoyable experience, which once again, I cannot help but relate back to cultivation novels in general. This was my review for Hero's Adventure Road to Passion. Let me know what you guys think, and I'll see you all in the next video.